they wondering what's all that ruckus. That's a 18-wheeler, semi-trailer, I'ma keep it trucking. Big rig driving, cargo hauling, I'ma keep it trucking. U-Haul moving, F-150, let's just keep it trucking. Out here busting moves, I ain't got time for no discussion.
Welcome back, Merging Lanes, episode 2. My name is Mark Manera. I've got my co-host, Mark Colson, aka I got nothing. I was trying.
Ball guy trucker. I don't know.
There you go. I was trying to figure out. Okay, I got to find a nickname for this guy. Alabama football. I got nothing. I got nothing. We're still trying to figure that out.
We'll let John pick a name.
There you go. And
how about that? MC and Eminem.
Oh, okay. I like that. Eminem. So, Mark, how's it going?
Doing great. I mean, in the trucking industry nationwide in Alabama, the things are full speed, and so there's no shortage of issues to deal with. And so I'm just excited that if you rewind to a year ago this time, a lot of uncertainty in the world. Today, I think folks are just trying to figure out how to meet the demands out there. So it's a fun time to be in trucking.
Nice. You are busy as all get out. I'm trying to get a hold of you, and you're on this radio show. You're on this podcast. You're just making the media rounds. So I'm excited we're able to get on, and I'm even more pumped because we got our first guest on, and lifelong truck driver with 36 years in the industry, 36 years, captain of the American Trucking Association, America's Road Team. Really, truly, just a nonstop inspiration on social media and just positive attitude. And really, in my opinion, an ambassador of the trucking industry, John Lex. Thank you so much for coming on, John.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. What an intro. Golly, man. I have to open up a window. My head's going to start swelling up.
Well, hey, the respect is much deserved. And, when Mark and I initially started talking about this podcast, we knew we wanted to bring on guests, and we're having the conversation, and seriously, not trying to pump you up even more, but the first name that came out of Mark's mouth was John Lex. We gotta bring on a professional driver for the first ever guest, and John is our guy. So, I really appreciate you coming on, John. And, I would love to hear, from your guys' perspective, how'd you guys meet? Mark, you want to tell the story, or John, do you want to, whatever?
We let Mark start.
Well, John is someone who makes an impression on people. And so the first time I met John, I'm sitting in my office like I am today. I was actually on a call with some members of our organization, and I see this 18-wheeler without a trailer pulling down our drive. And then there's another one right behind it pulling down our drive. Well, I'm like, what's going on here? And somebody runs to my office and said, oh, there's a truck driver here. And so we go out, and John, who was driving out of Georgia delivering to Montgomery, he apparently saw these signs that we had put on our building. It was like April of 2020. And so COVID had just, taken root, and shutdowns and all that. And we put these signs up on our building, one of on the side, because it's on I-85 on the interstate in Montgomery, Alabama. And one huge sign that could be seen from the interstate said, "Keep calm and keep trucking," like the World War II mantra, stay calm and carry on, and keep calm and carry on. The other sign was a storied driver from Alabama, Darian, that drives for J&M Tank Lines, who was competing for the Tank Driver of the Year. But it was his image and a Thank a Trucker banner. And it also had Joshua 1:9 on the banner, which hard to see from the interstate. But that was a verse that at the beginning of COVID came to me, and it basically says, "Do not fear, do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Be strong." But it starts by saying, "Be strong and courageous. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous." And I thought at that time, truckers are strong and courageous people. And it came to me in a Bible verse. It came to me in a devotional. A friend sent it to me all within like 24 hours. I'm like, okay, I got the message. So that became a mantra of that season. It's like, when God sends you a message, your job is to receive it well. So John had driven by and seen the banners, and got a load back the next day and came by, and he called one of his buddies, Alfonso Lewis, who is another storied national spokesperson, a professional driver. And the two of them showed up at our office and shot a video in front of those signs. I've got that video. We put it online. And John, you know how to make an impression, my friend.
Oh, well, I was just so impressed by seeing that. And it's a huge billboard. I believe the people that are up on the space shuttle can see the billboard, how big it is. And it's right next to I-85. And I'd been up there one day and I seen that billboard and I went and did my load. I got back to LaGrange, Georgia, and I requested another load back to Montgomery because I wanted to stop and I wanted to say thank you to y'all. And I remembered Alfonso Lewis lives in Montgomery. So I called up Alfonso and I said, Alfonso, you around the Alabama Trucking Association's office? And he says, I'm delivering right now. I said, could you meet me there in 30 minutes? He says, absolutely. What do you got going on? And I said, I want to shoot a video and I want to take some pictures next to that huge billboard. And I believe at the time he might not have seen the billboard yet because he didn't know exactly what I was talking about. And we got there and we walked in the office and I remember everybody's like, what's going on here? And I was just like, I got to shoot a video. I got to take pictures and just wanted to tell everybody, thank you for doing that. Like Mark said, it was, right in the middle of COVID. Wasn't a whole lot of traffic on the interstate at that time because everybody was staying home. But just an absolute amazing experience. It was great to meet you, Mark, and everybody else there at the association. So y'all do a heck of a job, and I appreciate everything y'all do.
That's awesome. That's a great story. And, I think one of the things that, Mark and I, when we started this podcast, we really wanted to bring on guests and have them, share their story and share their perspectives and everything. And, I think the best place to start with you, you personally is, I know that a lot of the inspiration for getting into trucking stemmed back to, you getting in the truck with your dad and, having that experience as a little boy and then just kind of, looking up to him and being like, that's what I want to do. I want to be a professional driver. But I'd love to, hear your story of how you got into the industry. And then something that's also super interesting to me is I'd love to hear how you got on America's Road Team.
Okay. Well, I got bit with a trucking bug early on. My dad is a lifelong truck driver. He's been retired for about, I think, 12 years now. He had 40 years in the industry. And I used to go riding with him a lot. And I could still remember I was probably 6, 7, 8 years old. My dad used to go to work early in the morning. And he'd always wake me up early in the morning. He'd say, hey, Bo, you want to go to work with me? I don't think my dad really knows my true name. He calls me Bo. So, and I'd be up like lickety split. I'd be up and, I just loved riding in the truck with him. But, I think back of all the lessons that I've learned in my life. A lot of it has been in the truck with my dad, learning how to become a professional truck driver, how the night before, how my dad would always polish his boots. He'd press his pants and his shirt and he just looked professional, and how he operated, how he did an awesome pre-trip inspection before his trip, just how disciplined he was at being a professional truck driver. Not only did I learn how to drive a truck and be a professional truck driver from him, but I learned how to be a decent human being because I saw how he interacted with, we'd stop in the morning for breakfast. I saw how he interacted with all the waitresses and, the waiter staff, and how he treated people when we went to make our deliveries, how he treated everybody there that were unloading his truck. And I just look back and I'm just so grateful. And, this being last weekend was Father's Day, what a perfect time to talk about it. I look back and I start thinking every time I start thinking about when I was a child, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's where I got that from my dad or from my mom. So I was really, really blessed to have such a great mentor, and it being my dad all at the same time. And even actually being able to get into the trucking industry and being able to drive with my dad, memories I will never forget, driving down the road with him, talking on the CB radio. And then as far as getting into being America's Road Team captain, it started, I was living down in Florida, and I was, just driving for Walmart like I am right now. I just happened to go up to the window to get another load, And at the time, our safety manager, Jay Polvin, he says, "Hey, Lex, how many hours you got?" And I said, "Just starting. I got a fresh 11 hours. He says, "Come on, me and you are going to Tampa. We're going to do a share the road event." Or I think they called it a blind spot event back then. And I didn't know what he was talking about. So he rode with me. We took a truck and trailer to a high school. And I was there with a guy by the name of Eddie Pennington, who was on a Florida's road team. And I was there just to bring a truck. So he had a truck to use. And I just watched how he interacted with the students. He did a classroom presentation. And then after that, he brought everybody out to the truck and he got everybody in the driver's seat of the truck. Had cars set up all in the blind spots. And I was just amazed because these were high school students that I thought, oh, they don't care about this. But they're at that age where they're starting to learn how to drive. And they were just soaking it up like a sponge. And I got bit. I said, you know what? I got to do this. So I was with the Florida Trucking Association for a few years, probably 6-7 years. I moved to Georgia. I got on the Georgia road team. And, I started reading about America's road team. And I started, talking to a few of the captains, one of them being Eddie Hosgood, which was a great mentor of mine. He said, you ought to try out for it. And I tried out, and it was just an unbelievable experience going to Arlington, Virginia, going through the whole selection process. And I was very fortunate in 2013 to get on America's road team. And it is just such an honor to go out there and represent over 3.5 million professional truck drivers. And that's what we do. We go out there to tell the public that we're the good guys out there. We're behind the scenes workers that majority of the time you don't even see us. But when you go to the grocery store, that food is on the shelf. When you go to the gas station, there's gas there. When you go to the hospital, all those hospital supplies, all that stuff has been on the back of a truck. So being able to go out and educate people, letting them know how vital trucking is to the industry. I just love doing that. I just love bragging on these 3.5 million professional truck drivers out there.
John, that is a fantastic story. Can you take us back just a little bit to the time when you made the decision, I'm going to be a CDL professional driver, and what it was like? Just where did you go to where did you get your CDL? What did it take? Think about it from a context of someone that might hear this is thinking, oh man, this sounds interesting. How do I go get my CDL? And then how do I break into the industry? Because sometimes there's a gap between even getting your CDL, then learning how to drive the truck, and then getting a job. So talk about your experience and in that context.
Okay. I was actually, before the CDL came out, back then you only had a driver's license. I was very fortunate. I was working for a great company named Public Supermarkets out of Florida. They had their own training program, and they still do. They do a phenomenal job. But I actually got to be trained by a professional truck driver. We'd go to empty parking lots, learning how to back up. We would drive around the warehouses in Miami, learning how to shift. Back then we didn't have the automatic transmissions like we had now. It was old school. You had to shift. Very fortunate, that I had my dad as my mentor, to tell me, hey, Bo, the most important thing that you ever need to do being a professional truck driver is have patience. You have to have patience. So back then we didn't have the CDL driving schools like they do now. And they have a lot of great schools across the country. And I was very fortunate to visit a lot of them. But I would encourage anybody that's interested in getting in the industry, look up your state technical college. Most of them have their training program, and they have really good schools that are taught by professional truck drivers, old school professional truck drivers that know the ins and outs of the trucking industry. So, but I was very fortunate to be trained by some great professional truck drivers, mostly my dad. And I've loved every minute of it. Even today, I still love it as much as I did when I first started. Now, granted, this industry has changed tremendously, but I still love it. I still love getting out there on the open road. The old saying, being your own boss. And it's just an unbelievable experience to be the captain of your own ship out there.
Now, was that your first job directly? Is that what direction right out of high school? You went right into trucking?
The only thing I ever wanted to do was driving. And my dad at the time was driving for Public Supermarkets. His whole career was with Public Supermarkets. So that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a professional Publix truck driver, just like my dad. And I drove for Publix for about 18 years. And during that time, I had transferred up to Georgia. And I just remember seeing these shiny white Walmart trucks and these professional drivers in their white crisp shirts. And, and I wanted that over the road experience. It's something I've always wanted to do. And I decided, you know what, if this is the way the Lord wants me to go to, I'm going to put in one application. I'm going to put one application in. And if that's the direction he wants me to go, then he'll open the doors. And sure enough, he did. I put in one application and interviewed, and they hired me, and I've been loving it ever since.
That's awesome. And I, I think one other question I had about kind of the American Road Team is just kind of the logistics behind just the curiosity thing is, now does each state association have a road team, and then there's one, and that kind of funnels down into one America's Road Team?
Well, a lot of the state associations have their own trucking captains, or, they have their own deal. Not all of them, but most of them do. And from there, you can, apply to become America's Road Team. You could put in or somebody's got to nominate you. They'll nominate you to be America's Road Team. And usually, if I remember correctly, there's usually over 2,000 people that are nominated to become America's Road Team captain. Every 2 years, they put out new captains. And so you go through what's called a selection process, where at first, all the nominations they're tallied by a group of people that are in the industry and some that aren't in the industry. They look at you send in a video, you send in an essay, a questionnaire that they give you, and they just kind of narrow that list down to about 20 to 25. And those 25 will go to Arlington and do their selection process in person, where you'll actually get in front of a panel of judges, and you'll do your speech, you'll do a personal interview, and then you'll do a mock-up interview with a newscaster. And it's a unique experience. You meet some of the most professional drivers across the country. So from then, they pick, anywhere from 15 to 20 captains, wherever they see where there's a gap in the scoring system. That's who they'll pick to be on America's Road Team.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And that makes sense. And that must have been such a cool experience to go through and be a part of. And, what a great group of people to just be associated with and just have kind of in your corner. I think one of the reasons why Mark initially, recommended you was kind of, the inspiration that you brought to this industry. And I know that this past year specifically has been a tough one for you. And if I'm correct, last April, you got diagnosed with colon cancer, correct?
Yes, last April.
Okay. And if you feel comfortable, I'd love for you to tell us the story, tell us kind of the insights and perspectives of this past year, and just some updates on your current situation.
Okay. Yeah. Last April, I was sitting in the yard of where I work down in LaGrange, Georgia, for Walmart. And I was sitting in my tractor taking a break. All of a sudden, I just got this pain in my stomach, my gut area, pain like I've never felt before. I knew something was wrong, and I just knew I couldn't drive. I couldn't drive. So I went in and told him I needed to go home. And I drove home, and the closer I got to the house, the more pain it was. And in my mind, stubborn and hard-headed, I don't like going to the doctor. I definitely don't like going to the hospital. I just told myself, if I can get home, I'll be fine. And I pulled up to the house, and I walked in the house. It was at night. I remember my wife was just in bed. She wasn't sleeping, but I think she was in bed. I remember walking in there and just kind of doubled over. And I said, honey, I got to go to the hospital. And she's like, what's going on? And I told her. She took me to the ER. They rushed me right in. At first, they thought it was appendicitis. But then after a CT scan, they found out I had a mass in my colon, and it turned out to be cancer. Unfortunately, this was during COVID, and you weren't allowed to have guests in the hospital. So there I am, all by myself, 55 years old. Ain't never really been in the hospital, let alone go to the doctor's office or anything. Because to me, I'm Superman. I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget sitting in the. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get a little emotional. But sitting in the hospital room and having the surgeon come in, because they had to go in and remove the mass. And at that time, they didn't know it was cancer. And him walking in, and surgeons are great people, but some of them don't have the best bedside manner. And he just walked in. He says, "Mr. Lex, I'm sorry to tell you, but you got cancer. You got stage 4 colon cancer." And I was just all by myself. And, I'm bucket of tears. I'm a big burly guy. I'm 6'2", and I don't cry much, but I do now. Boy, I'll tell you what, somebody tells you had cancer or you have cancer, it just changes your outlook on life. So here I am, I'm going through all the process of what am I going to do? How am I going to tell my wife? How am I going to tell my kids? So this was on I think it was Friday. Surgeon says, well, there'll be an oncologist coming in on Monday to talk to you. So I got to go through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday thinking about this. Like I said, I couldn't have guests. So I'm in this hospital room all by myself. And luckily the hospital I was at was only 1 floor. So my wife would sneak in and she'd go to the window and meet me at the window. And we get to, touch hands against the window and, just kind of have that moment together. But from there I went and I did chemo. I did chemo for 6 months. I did 12 treatments. And November of last year was my last treatment. And I've actually got to ring the bell because at that time I was cancer free. And it was short lived. After November, 3 months later, I had a follow-up CT scan or PET scan it was. And they found out the cancer had spread. It's in 3 different areas. So at that time in my life, I was so hyped up because, I thought I'd beat this. And when they tell you that it's back and it's aggressive, man, I fell. I had a low like I've never had before. All my family came up to Georgia to visit with me. I remember my whole family was here, and I'm trying to put on this front, trying to be happy for them, trying to be positive, but deep down inside, I'd given up. I had given up, and I remember I'm sitting on the couch one day. My dad, my brother, my sister were up here. My wife was on the couch with me, and I can't put on this front anymore. And I just want to cry. I want to cry so bad because all I could think in my head is I'm going to die. I'm going to leave my wife. I'm going to leave my kids. And I remember getting up and walking out in my front yard because I didn't want my family to see me like that because, I'm bulletproof. I'm strong, So I go out in the front yard and I remember I was sobbing like a baby, just like a baby. And all of a sudden, I just looked up and I said, Lord, I can't do this by myself. I said, I cannot do this by myself. I need you to help me. I said, I've been trying to do this by myself and I need your help. And in an instant, I felt this calmness come over my body. And I had a cold chill. And then all of a sudden, I had this sense of joy. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, you're such an idiot. I've been trying to do this by myself this whole time. And here I got my whole family up here that took time off of work to come up here to support me. And I have all of these great friends that are messaging me because I went for 3 weeks where I wouldn't take anybody's phone calls. I wouldn't respond to anybody's text messages. And I just felt like the Lord put it on my heart and said, you know what? You're an idiot. You need to wake up. look at all these people around you that are supporting you, and I'm here for you. You just got to open up. And from that day forward, my attitude has changed completely. I mean, like a complete 180. So as my dad would say, John, it's time to get your head out of your butt. And I did. I decided, you know what, I'm not going to take this, lying down. I'm going to fight this with everything I got. And from that moment on, I've just had this passion to go out and not only beat this, but to let people know what's going on with me, because I have so many people that love me and care for me. And my trucking family is absolutely amazing. I can't think of any other industry out there that is such a close-knit family than the trucking family. I don't care who you drive for. I mean, I got friends that drive for competing companies. It doesn't matter. We're all one big family. And, without them, without the good Lord looking over me, there's no way in the world I could do this. My wife is absolutely amazing. I'm so blessed. What I've put her through is just, and how she still remains calm and supports me. And, and I'll admit there's days that I do feel down every once in a while, and it never fails. My wife will be there and say, hey, come on, John, pick it up. Or I'll get a phone call, I'll get a text, or I don't know how it got started, but people started sending me t-shirts. And I bet you I have 75 t-shirts from different trucking companies, different state associations. It's just amazing. I'll be feeling down and I'll just have a bad day, especially at chemo, just feeling like garbage. And, a FedEx truck will come down the driveway, or the UPS or one of those gray vans will come down the driveway. And it'll be a little gift. It'll be, a t-shirt. It'll be, a stuffed animal, a truck, or a card or letter. And I'm like, there you go. That's the Lord working. It never fails. When I have one of those bad days, there's someone there to always pick me up. And I look up and I'm like, I know, Lord, I'm being dumb again, but it's been an amazing experience. Now I'm going through, I did chemo again for 3 months and it wasn't working. So now I'm doing this thing called targeted therapy, which is a therapy that's designed specific for my cancer. I started that 2 months ago. It's not as hard as the chemo is. I still get a little fatigued, but not as bad as the chemo. So I have really, really good days. And so I take some pills every night, and every 2 weeks I get an infusion where I guess they put these medicine in my blood, and I don't know all the technical names for this stuff, but I'll go in August for another scan to see if it's working. I pray that it's working. But I feel great right now. I feel really, really good. So we're just taking this head on, and I'm just really blessed to have so many great friends that are supporting me. And like I said, my trucking family is absolutely amazing, and I couldn't do it without them, the good Lord, and my wife.
John, you are an extreme inspiration, I know, to me personally, and just my staff here that you made a big impression on when you met them all. Cindy York was asking me this morning. She says, "You're going to talk to John?" I was like, "Yeah." Tell him I said, "Hey," and I was like, "Okay, I will." Thank you for your courage and passion to share that story. I know that's not easy. I know it's not easy on your family, but I do know, and Mark and I have spoken about this. I mean, health issues and cancer specifically touches every single person. There's not a person that will listen to this that hasn't been either personally affected, or they're someone right next to them, whether mother, father, son, daughter, cousin, whatever, coworker that has faced a cancer battle. And so your willingness to speak about the highs and the lows, and your walk with God and the faith that you've been provided. That doesn't prevent us from going through hard things, right? It's what empowers us when we do. So you've touched our heart too today. I'm with you. I'm fighting back tears here in my office, but God bless you, man, and thank you for the courage that you show, not to just fight your own battle, but to share that battle with others, because I know it's an inspiration to lift others up when they're having those bad days. So God bless you, my friend.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I want to share my story with everybody, and there's a couple different reasons. I put those videos out, and I've pretty much documented my whole journey with cancer. My life is an open book right now. And one reason is it's therapy to me to be able to me, I'm speaking to everybody, all my friends, because I'm not one to get on the phone and text or get on there and shoot out an email. For me, I can't get that personal feeling or that personal message across. In a video, I can. Plus, I'm just a little too lazy to sit there and type. So I shoot these videos, and for one, to just let people know that they're not in it alone. I'm one of, I don't know how many people that are fighting cancer right now. Just like you said, there ain't nobody in this world that hasn't been touched by cancer one way or another. Another thing, it's just therapy to me, just being able to go out and express my feelings. And, I'm very fortunate. I have a woods behind my house, and I just before all this cancer started, I built a walking trail in my backyard through the woods. And that's my moment. That's my moment where I go out there and I'll pray and I'll shoot my videos and just kind of unload. And, I don't really hold anything back. I did it first, but right now I don't. I just want people to know the struggles that we have with cancer, and, just to encourage people to fight it, because this isn't the end all. There's plenty of people that beat cancer, and, more and more research is being done, and there's more and more treatments now than there were, say, two years ago. This treatment that I'm doing wasn't around. So, just to encourage people to fight it, and I think half the battle is in your head, being able to stay positive and focus, turn it over to God, lean on your friends. That's one thing that I took out of this is not to hold everything in. You're not Superman. You're a living, breathing human being, and you need to express your feelings and your concerns to other people, especially my wife. I try to hold everything in because I didn't want my wife to get upset or worried about me. Well, I found out it's just the opposite. I need to express those feelings to her because she's there to help me and support me. And I just couldn't do it without her. She's just an amazing, amazing person. So I'm very, very blessed.
And I'm sure that sharing of those moments and everything have just brought you guys closer too, and yeah, and I think something that, Mark and I really, resonate with, and just in general, is the faith aspect. And, I think that a lot of people, when they're going through, I think we all go through tough times in life. There's a spectrum, and we can say one's worse than the other, or whatever we want to go define it as. But I think that a lot of people who have that relationship with God have those moments, like you said, where it's really a snap of a finger, and it is like this, it is just like a complete 180 flip. And that is, incredible to hear, and really inspirational. I'd love to, hear a little bit more about kind of that relationship and with God, and, how your faith has helped in the last year.
Oh, in the last year, it's been amazing. Like I said earlier, I can think back at times where I was at my lowest, to where something will happen to take me out of that funk I was in. And I'm reminded of a story just before I got diagnosed with cancer. I was in Thompson, Georgia. And back then, our stores were closing at 8:00 at night because this was the height of COVID. And I remember I ran hard that day, just trying to get all those supplies to the stores. And I remember I ran out of time in Thompson, Georgia. And I remember I was parking in the front parking lot because I try to stay at our stores as much as I can, being over a road truck driver and having to sleep in the truck. I was set up, I was parking, and I remember a car pulling up next to me and thinking, oh my goodness, what is this all about? Because earlier that morning, I'd had somebody follow me behind the store when I was making a delivery. And, that's kind of scary situation because you don't know what's going on. And it was just people wondering if I had toilet paper on my trailer. So I didn't know what to expect. So here I am, I'm getting out of my truck and I'm doing a post-trip inspection, walking around my truck, making sure everything's okay. And this car pulls up and it's a little old man. Now this was on a Sunday. This is Sunday evening. And he says, "Excuse me, sir." He says, "I just want to know if I could pray for you." And I just remember thinking to myself, oh my goodness, here I am. I'm thinking the worst. And this guy wants to pray for me. And I said, sure, you can pray for me. So he gets out of the truck, and right next to my trailer, he comes out. He says, "This seems kind of weird." He says, "But my church is closed." He says, "They're doing online service." He says, "I don't know this computer stuff." He says, "I just felt like I needed to do something." So he says, "I'm tracking down any police officers, any firemen, and truck drivers." And he says, "I'm just praying with them." And I'm like, that's just amazing. So right there next to my trailer, he prayed for me, prayed for my safety, and I'll never forget, he prayed for my health. So I look back and I'm like, it was the next week, I think it was, is when this hit me. And I'm like, that's the good Lord talking to you. So, my faith this past year has gotten so much stronger. Before all this, we'd go to church and we'd go through the routine, but, I wasn't all there. Now I'm there. I realize, you know what? There's a higher power, and you need to lean on the Lord, because if you don't, you're going to be lost, and you're going to be back on that couch sobbing like a baby, and you're going to be at the lowest low you ever been. So this past year has been a tremendous experience for me. I think maybe that's the way the good Lord's working through me to get my head out of my butt, like my dad would say, and focus on the big things, and also appreciate all the good things, because my eyes are open now to so much good out there, where we tend to go through life and we only focus on the negatives. And now I can focus on how great my wife is, how great my family is, how blessed I am to have this trucking family. So it has really opened up my experience to go out there and tell my story, to educate people about this cancer, and also educate people about how great the trucking industry is. This past year, unfortunate, I hate that we've had all these deaths. I hate that we had this pandemic, but the silver lining is there was a spotlight shined on us. Usually the media does not show the good side of trucking. Well, now people are getting to see what we do each and every day. We're not doing anything different now than we haven't done all the years before this. We supply the vital essentials for everybody to live their life the way they are. But now they're getting their eyes opened. When COVID first started, I remember going over overpasses, people flashing signs, "Thank you, truckers," going through Montgomery and seeing that huge billboard on the side of Alabama Trucking Association. And it's such a great feeling to be recognized. Not that we want to be recognized, but we want people to realize that we're not the bad people out there on the road. We're doing a job that is needed to be done so we can live the lives that we want to live.
I completely agree. And, I think that you might not want to be recognized, but it's well-deserved. And it's something that, I think me coming in from a year ago, not being in the trucking industry and coming in and being so fresh to it, I didn't realize the impact that if the drivers are being affected, that has a trickle down effect to even how much my, Wheaties are going to cost when I go to Walmart. Right. And I think that there's just a huge, there's just a huge impact that this has. And when you've got a group of people that move, 80 something percent, or is it 70% of the goods in America, they 100% deserve to get some credit, and they get to be, they deserve to be looked at as professionals and not just truck drivers, and I love the message that you spread across, and, something that, Mark and I are wanting to bring guests on and talk about are some of the problems that we see in the industry, but kind of taking it to the next step and saying, okay, yes, there's this problem, but how do we, implement a solution? And one of those problems that I think that you are helping to, spread awareness is the gap in the new generation coming into the trucking industry. And for me, kind of coming in as a new person and just not being in the industry and not having, not growing up with my dad being a truck driver, I didn't fully understand what trucking was. When I thought of truck drivers, I thought of when I went to the gas station and there was some guy filling up the tank, and that was my impression of it. And I think that what you're doing from an educational standpoint, from the videos and from just showing your life, is just bringing a really bright light into what a professional driver is. And I would love to get your thoughts on what the trucking industry can continue to do to bring more awareness to what a professional driver is. And hopefully, as time goes on, get more high school students or college students recognizing that, okay, this is a career that is a great career to go into, and something that I would, I'm really interested in.
Yes. One thing that we need to do a better job of is telling our story, getting out there and being heard. This past year has been, like I said, unfortunate COVID happened, but we were able to get out there and tell our story. People were able to see exactly what truck drivers do. And you're right about getting the high school students that at the younger age get involved and get interested in the trucking industry. So going to high schools, letting people know about the trucking industry, how great a job being a professional truck driver is, and how many different avenues that you could take in trucking. If you're young and you're single and you want to see the country, what a better way to do it? Get behind the wheel of the truck and get paid to do it. You get to a certain point in your career, you want a wife, you want kids, and you want to settle down. Well, trucking's still there. You can get local jobs where you can start early in the morning or the afternoon, and you could be home every night. You can get regional jobs where you could be gone 3 or 4 days at a time and then come home for a couple of days. There's so many different avenues in trucking that you can take, but we just need to get out there and tell our story and let people know what a great industry this is. Not only being a truck driver, but being a truck mechanic, warehouse workers. I mean, good paying jobs where you could go out, you can provide for your family, work with some great companies that have great benefits, health insurance, life insurance, vacation pay, all this stuff that, maybe a teenager coming out of high school that's thinking, you know what, I really don't want to go to college. I can't see anything that I want to do that requires a college education, but I want to go out there and make a career. Well, I can't think of anything better than the trucking industry right now. We're so short on drivers. A great time to get into the industry. And like I said earlier, so many different avenues that you can take that will fit your lifestyle. So just getting out there and making us heard, telling our story, letting people know that, hey, anytime there's a natural disaster, any kind of disaster, we're there. We are there. We're supplying the first responders, whether it's chainsaws, generators, you name it, hospital supplies, we're there. So we're an integral part of the way we live and the way we have to live our lives comfortably. Because without trucking, let's face it, what's the old saying? We'd be cold, naked, and hungry.
Well, John, that's incredible. And some of the messages that seem to be connecting with a younger generation of potential, truck drivers, two aspects. One, that you just nailed it. I mean, they're a part of something a lot bigger than themselves. They're part of something that's special, that's needed, that is, moving this country, and it's supplying every industry, every family, every community across this nation. And so when younger either students or just people realize that, they're like, I didn't think about it, that I'm actually being a part of how the fabric of this country works. Also, just trucks are highly sophisticated technology. They use a lot of highly sophisticated technology. I mean, you are operating multiple systems in that truck now, from, you know, not just GPS, what's being tracked, your e-logs, all across the board. Just the truck itself is semi-autonomous with automatic braking systems, and you have to be able to operate this highly sophisticated piece of equipment. It takes skills, but it also takes interaction with a lot of technology. Younger generations are excited about that, and so the more we talk about those things, I think that's a better thing. So I love it. It's like you're almost like a spaceship. Those things will fly one day. But if you've not been in the seat of a truck these days, you're operating. You're a highly skilled professional, you're a driver, but also operator of a lot of different systems in that vehicle.
Yeah, the industry's come a long way. Back when I first started, like I said, manual transmission. A lot of our trucks weren't air ride that are air ride now. They drive so much better. Power steering. Some of the first trucks I drove, they had big steering wheels simply because you had to muscle the wheel to turn. So we got power steering now. And just like you said, all the electronics, the crash avoidance systems, the lane departures, you know, if you're a young kid and you're in the video games, I mean, this is a perfect industry for you because it has so much technology, amazing technology, which at first, I'll be honest, at first I was like, I don't need all this. I've been driving so many years and I never had it. But I wasn't thinking, you know, wait a minute, you got a new group of people coming up into the industry that doesn't have a mentor like I did with my dad. So all this technology helps. I remember the crash avoidance system, the first truck I had that had it. And I caught myself creeping up on people sometimes, you know, and not tailgating, but just getting too close. And I remember, you know, hearing that thing beep and thinking, oh, this stupid stuff. And then I started thinking to myself, wait a minute now. Wait, you're a little too close to that car in front of you, and thinking, there's a light bulb that went off in my head thinking, you know what, this is a good tool. It is what you make it. You know, if you go out there and use it the way it's meant to be, it could be your best friend. You go out there and you don't want to use it and you got this negative attitude. Well, of course, you're going to think all the worst things, but I love all the technology on it. It's just amazing how far we have come in just my 6 years in the industry, how much nicer the trucks ride, how quieter they are in the inside. You know, back in the old days, you didn't have all the sound insulation and everything. The trucks were just so loud. You had AM radios. Now you got AM, FM, and you got XM Sirius in your truck. It's just amazing technology. Driver comfort, you know, years ago, there wasn't no emphasis on driver's comfort. Well, now we've found out that the more comfortable the driver is, the safer he is, the less fatigue it is. So we got great air ride seats, the power steering, the air conditioning in these trucks. It's just amazing technology. And you throw in all the new technology for the crash avoidance, the lane departures. It's just amazing technology where if I was a young kid coming up, I'd be blown away. I'm like, if my avenue isn't going to college, I'm going straight to trucking because that's where it is.
And hey, they could drive a truck and go to college. You know, take classes while you're moving across the country. So.
Absolutely.
And I love that mindset shift because I think some of the drivers I've talked to about the new technology is they're scared the technology is going to take their job over. And I think that you hit the nail on the head there with this new technology is only here to aid professional drivers. It's making your life better and it's making, your ability to drive a truck, more efficient and, just like your quality of life out there better. Now, John, I did have a question. Are you over the road when you have you driven over the road? Or are you mainly local? What do you?
Yeah, I'm over the road regional. So
okay.
I'm on a unique schedule where I know I'm going to have people hounding me about this, but downhill slide of my career where I like my family time. So I work 5 days on and 5 days off. So I'm at work for 5 solid days. So I'm in the truck basically 4 nights, sometimes 5 nights, and then I'm home for 5 days. So I'm more regional, Georgia, surrounding states. Every once in a while, I get out a little bit further than that, but that's basically my running area.
Nice. Well, you know, I have really enjoyed this conversation, and I think that anyone listening to this is just going to be, you know, not only inspired by your story, but, you know, inspired about kind of the mission you're on about, you know, inspiring more people to see trucking in a brighter light. So if someone is, you know, interested in learning more about you, watching those amazing videos of yours on your walking trail, where can they find you?
I'm on my Facebook page, you know, my John Lex Facebook page. I'm on Instagram, but I don't know a whole lot about it because I'm still old school. This technology just blows me away sometimes. So little Facebook mostly. Twitter, I dabble in it a little bit. I still don't understand Twitter. But just mostly on Facebook is where I can put my videos because I know how to do that. I'm trying to learn a little bit about the other social media stuff. My wife wants me to put everything on YouTube, but I don't know how to do it. So she's been trying to, you know, start from day one with my videos and just kind of throw them all on YouTube where anybody can go on there and look at them. You know, I'm goofy, but I'm human, you know, and I don't hold back. You know, I just want people to know the ups and downs of cancer. I also want people to know what a great industry we're in and how supportive the trucking community is when one of their own gets thrown a curveball, and how they all reach out and support you and love you. And like I said earlier, I don't know of any other industry out there that is so close knit as we are. It's just an amazing experience. And I'd encourage anybody that's interested, just has a little bit of interest in the trucking industry, to look into it, because there's just so many opportunities out there to get into this industry and make a great living at it.
Yeah. Well, Mark, thank you for introducing us to John and getting him on. Yeah, John, I really appreciate you coming on the show. And for everyone listening, go check out John. Say thank you for getting on Merging Lanes and for, you know, giving some support through, you know, the remaining of his cancer battle. And, you know, we'll keep you in our thoughts and prayers. And, you know, you've got 2 guys on your side over here. So thank you, John.
I love how they act like they been around, know when they wasn't. When everything was going downhill, you sat there and just watched me plummet. You never gave a hand, I made my own way out the dungeon. Now I'm making noise, they wondering what's all that ruckus. That's a 18-wheeler, semi-trailer, I'ma keep it trucking. Big rig driving, cargo hauling, I'ma keep it trucking. U-Haul moving, F-150, let's just keep it trucking. Out here busting moves, I ain't got time for no discussion.